28 minutes to 12. It's Friday morning. I say a very good morning and welcome to Laura Murphy. Morning, Laura.
Morning.
We've spoken before about Wayfinder Woman, and an interesting charitable project, I do believe, is a way of looking at this for women for various different things. But in particular, at the moment, you're looking at something that's coming up in September, which is a seminar for unemployed women to actually try and help them get back into the world of work. Is it a big problem?
It is a big problem for women who are unemployed, yes, because they lose a lot of confidence.
It's a big problem for those who are, but what I said is it actually a big problem in the area? Are there lots and lots of unemployed women?
There are significant numbers of unemployed women, as around in other areas of the country. And in the Wealdon district area, they've got the added complication of being rural with little transport possibilities. So it's not only about finding work, it's also about thinking about perhaps, well, if I can't get a job, should I set up a business? Is there something that I'm interested in, that I'm good at, that I can turn into a business? Yeah,
and of course sometimes not always having the finances to actually turn that dream or idea into something solid and concrete.
Not having the finances, but also not knowing how to do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first things that you should be thinking about? Is what I'm good at, is it just a hobby, or will it make business?
Mm-hmm.
And so do I need a website? Who do I talk to? How do I find my customers? All of those sorts of things. And the whole point of this seminar is to allow women of all ages from 16 to 60 to come along, hear from other women that have overcome particular barriers to find work or volunteer or to set up a business, so they can hear successes, and then to have somebody that will run a session that will help build their confidence, help motivate them, have a lunch, and then in the afternoon there's going to be advice tables. So there'll be speed dating around the advice tables.
Speed dating, yeah, okay. At a conference for getting people back, getting women back to work. Speed dating sounds like a fun idea, but of course it's not really dating, is it? It's about sort of talking to companies in very, very sort of short, sharp pieces, just to get some bullet points, I guess.
That's right, yes. So they'll spend about 10-15 minutes with each of them, and it'll be a chance for people to explain for example, a recruitment agency. What are recruitment agencies looking for? What does your CV need to look like? How do recruitment agencies work? And so they can talk to them about that, and then they can ask questions. What is it like to work for a large employer? Freedom Leisure are going to be there as a brewers. Both different types of sectors and industries. What are apprenticeships? How do I become an apprentice? We've got Let's Do Business there, talking about grants for if you want to set up a business. There's It Deal, that will tell women about different courses that are around if you're thinking of setting up a business. Voluntary organisations are going to be there. What is it? What type of volunteers are we looking for? There'll be somebody else there to give advice on what your CV should look like. How do you put one together? So there's all sorts of things there just to stimulate ideas.
Yeah, I mean, this is okay. I mean, is none of this sort of stuff already available out there through various different other agencies at all? Or is this just a case of pulling the whole lot together under one umbrella?
It's difficult, and people like the job.
Because, I mean, the point behind what I'm trying to say here is It sounds like a very laudable idea, but why isn't it open to everybody?
It is very difficult for like organisations like the Job Centre. They're not allowed to provide gender-specific support. They have to provide the same level of support to men and women. Now, in the work that we've done before with Wayfinder Woman, where they've come together and we've asked them, particularly around confidence, what is it about not being confident? And they talk about things like they feel lost, they feel abandoned, they feel as though they're not worthy. And you don't get that sort of deep, honest assessment of how somebody is when you're doing stuff in a mixed environment.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make here is that there are men that feel exactly the same way. It's a bit strange, I've got to say, from the point of view of how things are in the modern day, that where women want equality.
Yeah.
Oh, we want equality, but we actually want to do this, which doesn't involve men. So we don't actually want equality. We want something a little more than that. And that's my point here, is that men feel just as disenfranchised, just as despondent, and have just as many problems in trying to find work.
Yeah.
This sort of thing, it sounds like a wonderful thing. It really does. But I'm just wondering why men aren't included.
Because men have other routes. They can go to the rugby club and talk to their mates. They can go to the pub and talk to their mates.
That's not the same as getting advice about jobs, is it? Come on, that's not it at all.
We're also talking about motivating women and giving them the confidence to go out and do things and to see that there are the possibilities out there. And that is the thing that comes across more than anything in the research that we've done is the extreme lack of confidence that women have. And this is what this seminar is addressing. It's to help motivate women. They get so caught up in looking after families, dealing with the various caring responsibilities they have, their feelings
So what
of
you're saying really is
obligation.
the needs of women are very different, are perhaps different to the needs of men. So perhaps then somebody ought to be campaigning on that basis, that when we start talking about equality and all the rest of these bits and pieces, there ought to be equality, but there also needs to be a fairly sensible line of division that says sometimes men need things on their own and women need things on their own.
Exactly.
But it's not allowed when men are concerned, because if we had one just for men, there would be any number of women who want to go to these things. Well, that's not fair. That's really the point to this, is that somewhere along the line now, someone has got to stand up and say, yeah, there's equality, but men and women sometimes have different needs, and sometimes that should be permissible. But when men are concerned, it's not. But where women are, it is. And that's my point.
There's centuries of...
but when are women actually going to turn around and actually accept this point that sometimes men also need these things, and that perhaps they should be excluded from some of the men's things? That's one of the points I'm trying to make here. Is that women don't actually accept that. Men have to accept it where women are concerned, and I congratulate and say it's a very, very good thing you're doing.
Yeah.
But someone somewhere has got to turn around and say, there ought to be something in there for men. Somewhere there ought to be something of a similar nature for men, because men have similar problems.
And if there's organisations that do that, then they should be telling people about it. I don't dispute for 1 minute that men at times do also need to have things that are suited to their own needs. We're talking about women here.
Yeah.
And everything that we do is geared towards the needs of women.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we can move on from that a little bit. It's just something that sits very uncomfortably with me.
I know. We've had this debate.
We
before,
have a wonderful thing here that you're doing. Someone out there, please take it on. Do the same thing for men. Right. Okay. So we've got in the afternoon we've got. Speed dating or speed employment finding almost or experiences find out session. You have a problem, I'm told, with the lunch. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, well, lunch is a minor thing, really, but you've actually sort of given me a very compelling argument off air about why lunch is actually quite important in this situation. And at the moment, you haven't got it funded, have you?
No, we've had funding from Wealdon District Council, but that's only a quarter of what the event is going to cost us to do it.
Tell me why lunch is so important.
Lunch is really important because we want women to feel valued. And whenever you go out anywhere, the thing you always comment on is the quality of the food. It's a crucial point of enjoying and feeling valued and worthy.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to just turn up with sandwiches that I've made at 2:00 in the morning.
Why not?
That are
It might be
curled at the
quite good
edges.
sandwiches. Yeah.
Yeah, my sandwich making skills aren't good.
Okay.
And so we want something that that's going to be the highlight of their day. Because if you spend all your time looking after people, there's a lot of emotion involved with food. You cook for your family, you cook for your loved ones, you cook for your partners. And if somebody does something cooks for you, it makes you feel special. And that's the whole point of this day, is to make women feel special about themselves.
Yeah.
And so that they can then feel...
It's confidence boosting exercise then, really.
It is.
Now, as you said, you haven't got the funding for this yet. How are you going to go about it?
Well, what I'm hoping is that there's going to be somebody out there, a caterer maybe, that might sponsor the lunch, in which case we will give them all due credit in everything that we do. We went to the 2 major supermarkets and asked them if they would help us out. Well,
Times are tough and you didn't get a reply.
Didn't get a response, no. So if there's any caterers or any businesses out there that are willing to sponsor a lunch, that'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody that cooks for their local football or rugby club, and we can give them the raw ingredients and they would do something for us, that would be brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just...
When is this September?
It's the 22nd of September.
22nd of September.
At the United Reformed Church in Uckfield.
22nd September. Okay. So anybody that with catering experience or catering business, or who's prepared to fund or help fund a catering experience for women to enjoy at lunch. We need basically some. This is, I guess, the. Original free lunch, isn't it, really? I guess in some ways, for want of putting it a better way. Anybody that can help out with that, they can get in touch with you or get in touch with us, and we'll put them in touch with you.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. Our email address is info@wayfinderwoman.com.
It's Wayfinderwoman, which is with an A, not an E.
Yes.
Info@wayfinderwoman.com. Okay,
yeah,
we've got
or
that.
they can come to you, and you can pass
and we
it
can pass them on. So if you really can help with that, roughly how many people are we talking about here? Because I think to caterers that's quite an important thing, the numbers.
Yeah, we're talking about in the region about 35 people.
35 people. Lunch for 35 people. Can you cope with that? Can you deal with lunch for 35 people? If you can, get in touch with us and we'll put you in touch with Laura, because we've got a date for you for the 22nd of September. What else we got going on that day with this? Because we're talking about lunch, we've been talking about the afternoon. You've got companies coming along, haven't you?
Yes, in the morning we've got a group of women that are going to be talking about the barriers they've overcome to get into work or set up a business. So it will be mental health issues, caring for disabled children.
Mental health issues, where does that link in?
Well, if you're overstressed, anxious, you've had a mental breakdown, for example, then that can be quite a barrier for an employer to engage somebody that's had mental health problems. Mm-hmm. So it will be talking about that and how...
It's fairly commonplace, though, these days, isn't it?
It is, and thankfully people are talking about it more, but it's still very difficult for an employer sometimes to... And a lot of people won't talk about the fact they've had a mental health breakdown because they think that it's going to stigmatise them. Mm. And... so there'll be somebody talking about that's that found work, and then after that we've got a confidence coach. She's going to runs laughter workshops.
Everybody needs laughter.
Everybody needs
it's
laughter.
One of those things that makes people feel good, isn't it, Ree? What's that all about?
Really,
what have we got, a comedian or something?
She runs laughter coaching. And teaches people how to laugh in very difficult circumstances, which helps boost
I'm just been rendered speechless on that one.
I don't believe it for a minute.
It's just, almost, yeah, neither do I really. But how on earth? I mean, that's. Are you telling me seriously that there are people out there who really don't know how to laugh?
They don't know. Yes, they do, because they get so caught up in their own anxieties and their negative thinking. They don't know how to laugh. They might smile, but they don't really laugh deep inside and feel good about it.
So you have a laughter coach. I mean, you'd have thought if you had those sorts of problems, you'd be talking to your doctor and you'd be looking at depression and all sorts of bits and pieces, and probably some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of counselling, really. So where does a laughter coach come from? I mean, it's not exactly the sort of thing you put when you're going to see the careers officer at school. I want to be a laughter coach. I mean, where does that come from? It's
amazing the work that they do, and Caroline's very good at it, and she's a very ebullient person anyway, very inspirational.
I would imagine it's quite a fun job to do, actually.
It is, yeah. And it's things she was telling me about this woman who, every time she gets stuck in a traffic jam or gets stuck at red light, she gets really uptight about it. So now she's learned how to change her thinking. So instead of getting angry, she starts laughing. So it releases all the tensions, and there's no road rage going on, you know. So
yeah. Well, I was about to say, I think there's a lot of us that feel that sort of anger. You're driving along the road and you're quite happily minding your own business, and all of a sudden a traffic light has the temerity to actually stop you.
Yes.
Yeah. We will have to live with that one, don't we? Really. So we got. So we're looking at mental health issues there. Then, what else were we looking at in the morning? Did you say?
We've got Swindles are coming along to talk about finances. So the sorts of things you need to think about if you might be want to set up a business, or basic bookkeeping type of stuff, which will also help with your day-to-day management of your own money, your household budgets as well.
So there's an awful lot there then. So, I mean, really, it's for those that want to be employed and those also that want to perhaps go down the self-employed route.
Yes.
Because they're very different paths, aren't they?
And also if you want to volunteer, because that's a step into employment as well, to build up some skills if you've particularly isolated or maybe your English isn't as good as it could be for various reasons, your communication's not particularly good, then volunteering is a really good route. Okay,
so there's all of that now. Just a quick reminder on that one. It's the 22nd of September.
Yep.
Where is it?
The United Reformed Church. It runs between 9:30 and 2:30, so you've got people have time to drop their children off at school and pick them up.
Have they got a book?
Yes, if they could book through info@wayfinderwoman.com.
Okay.
And we'll be putting stuff up on the Wayfinder Woman website shortly.
All right. So it's open to any women?
Any women, say 16 through to 60, as long as you're of working age.
And
you're unemployed. Or in some instances, if you might just be doing a job that's like a couple of hours a week.
What about those that are employed that are thinking about making that step into self-employment?
Well, they're welcome as well. We certainly won't be turning anybody away. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else have you got lined up? Because you've got that event. I mean, looking at your website, you have a list of events that are dotted around all over the place. I mean, you have any other events that are coming up at all?
We've got one next week in Eastbourne, where we've got Katie Bourne, the Sussex Peace and Crime Commissioner, is coming along.
Always good value for money, is Katie.
Yes, and she was a very successful businesswoman as well. So she's going to be talking to us about the qualities needed to get to the top, which is going to be really interesting. And then there'll be a chance to have a discussion there and talk about any issues that other women have got that might be stopping them from getting to the top of whatever it is they're involved with.
Okay, we've got about a minute left now. I know your organisation is actually a charity, isn't it?
It is, yes, run by a small group of 6 volunteers that run it. So we rely on grant funding and anybody else that might be willing to help us out in any way, shape or form. We'll never turn anybody down.
Okay. So quick reminder then, we have 22nd of September at the United Reformed Church. The full title of the event is?
It's Working Your Way, Building the Foundations
for Women in Business.
And when we say business, that means work.
Okay.
Any type of work. And if anybody's willing to sponsor the lunch for us, please
That's
get
the
in
thing.
touch.
These girls have got to have their lunch, all right?
Yes, they've got to feel good about themselves.
If you could help out with that one, get in touch with us at studio@uckfieldfm.co.uk and we will put you in touch with Laura. Or you can you can email info@wayfinderwoman.com. Laura, it's been a joy and a pleasure as always to see you. Good luck with the event in September, and I'm sure you'll be back fairly soon.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.